Amber here with another character video. Yay? Well, I think it's a yay, so that's what matters, right? If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for the return. And I do hope you enjoy this video as much as you may have enjoyed the previous ones. To newcomers, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to check me out. If you happen to like what I'm doing, whether it's what you see or what you hear, be sure to hit like, subscribe, and all that jazz. I'm not going to go into detail. You've heard it a million times before from other creators on this platform. Alright, enough about that. Now for the character information. That's, I presume, why you're here after all, right? This week's character is Christopher Jenkins. He is a rather pathetic man, one that has always sought to please people, and it started with his own family. When his mana came to light, he found that he had two different kinds. He found that he had surprisingly strong necromancy. Bleh. Let's not trip over that. Necromancy. Which was most certainly unexpected, as he was from a non-mage or magical family, as far as he was aware, and as far as his family was aware. However, along with the necromancy, he discovered He discovered some even more shocking and powerful mana. He could alter or manipulate time itself to some degree. His sisters quickly became little entitled hellions, using his mana for everything. They made him stop or slow time so that they could get away with so much. It helped to develop his belief of what love was, and helped to lead him into Vanessa's clutches. Vanessa, for the record, was, if I recall correctly, last week. So go check that. If I remember, there will be a card or something up in the corner for you to click to go check her video if you want to. Anyway, he gave absolutely everything to that elf. There was nothing that he didn't give or do. Chris did everything for Vanessa, the elf that he'd honestly believed loved him as he was. However, that wasn't a belief he held forever. When the Wood Elves came into the picture, he noticed a change. She seemed to treat him, well, he wasn't nearly as important to her, and it honestly broke his heart. He had become who he believed it was that Vanessa needed, and it was seeming to be for nothing. However, when one of the Wood Elves, Azari, came and stole Vanessa from him, his sister came with him. Chris quickly grew to appreciate the woman in question. Sorry, it's 5:07 in the morning and my brain just froze. Anyway, Chris quickly grew to appreciate the woman in question, the female Wood Elf. And as a result, he found himself volunteering for Vanessa's anything and everything in order to spare her, Isla, the torture that he knew was coming. Plus, she was becoming more and more, rather quickly at that, a puppet for Vanessa, and Chris did not like that. Azari, on the other hand, was becoming Vanessa's right hand in the position that Chris himself had once believed to have possessed, and Chris really did not appreciate that. Chris had done all that he could, which admittedly wasn't too much overall, to help make it that Isla's stay there was at least a little bit more comfortable. He, of course, didn't dare mess with Vanessa's mana that was rendering Isla as not more than a puppet. And he could have, being genetically altered to be something akin to a dark elf himself, but he knew that if Vanessa were to discover that he tampered with it, it would be far more harm than good. She would probably target Isla to get at Chris. And with how much he was coming to honestly feel for Isla, he didn't want to risk that. So, he did what he could, little things here and there, to try and make it that she's at least a little more comfortable and such. She didn't get or have much freedom from Vanessa's mana, but at least he could help her not be so alone and such when she had that freedom. And even when she didn't. But he never knew how much of a difference that made. When she was when she was borderline nothing but a puppet, there was only so much that one could be aware of with that much control exuded over them. Regardless, the pair did end up getting rather close. And when he saw the damage done to Isla by her own brother Azari, Chris vowed to be the protector that it seemed that she needed. The times that Isla wasn't as completely under Vanessa's thumb. That sentence is bad. Okay, let's try that again. Chris vowed to be the protector that it seemed that she needed. The times that Isla wasn't as completely under Vanessa's thumb, they ended up getting extremely close, as I did say. It did take a while, but over time they ended up actually falling in love. Christopher quickly became one that would go out of his way in order to help further Isla's life, while his obsession with Vanessa shrank. Eventually, the rage started to bubble forth, but not because of how he was treated. It began as him hating to see how Isla was treated. Chris was good at keeping his emotions bottled and contained, however. At no point did it ever come out. He didn't even tell Isla, not that it would make a difference, however. Vanessa kept that elf pretty firmly under her thumb. Chris, keeping himself restrained through some force of will that Vanessa never managed to stamp out of him, kept surprising himself. Every day he saw her, he wanted to do something, but he managed to bite it back. When he caught her with Azari, despite having fallen out of love and obsession over Vanessa, he still lost control. He did still respect her and her goals, even if it meant that he lost her. And for the record, when I say he caught Vanessa and Azari together, I'm talking intimately, sexually. After that expulsion of everything, because he lost control, everything burst from him. Mana, emotion, actions, everything. Chris was left silent and stunned. He had no idea as to what the hell it was that had happened. He had absolutely no idea what it was that had happened, as he did not have that power. However, when he saw how injured they were, he capitalized on it. Time in the entire underground bunker had frozen. Completely. He was the only one still capable of movement. Time was flowing for nobody else. But that wasn't exactly new, though. The strength of it was, however, but it wasn't unknown that he could do something to that extent. That's part of the reason why Vanessa wanted him in the first place. He was, of course, a distant, very distant, descendant of the god of time, Kronos himself. Like many of the other members of the Greek pantheon, he often came to the surface to, procreate. Let's put it nicely this time. He didn't care if they were human or what. His only requirements were female and of a human shape. As a result, Chris's line was born. But, along with that, he is also a particularly strong necromancer. It was something that passed on to his progeny, of course. Oh, right, I haven't even touched on them yet, have I? Now, Vanessa tasked him with one major, albeit slightly simple, task. She wanted him to get her the strongest necromancer that was possible. They found Madison, a necromancer who had her mana boosted by Anubis himself, and Chris was to force himself upon her. I'm not going to go into detail about that, but I will say this. That did lead to a pair of twins, but it also cursed Madison. An hour after giving birth, or an abortion, an hour after she lost the twins from within her, she would die, plain and simple. Vanessa had given him the tools to curse her in such a way, and he knew how to do the other. Vanessa had given him the tools to curse her in such a way, and he knew how to do it. The other half of the end goal was to have it that he had a necromancer child that Vanessa could then reuse. The end goal was to have it that he had a necromancer child that Vanessa could then raise and use for her own goals, her own things, her own whatever. Well, the strong necromancer child did actually happen. Casey was born along with her twin sister, Kaylin. Casey was a necromancer. Kaylin was not. However, after getting out of Vanessa's clutches with that attack, by that attack, I mean when he blasted Vanessa and Azari, he tried to see if either of his two daughters would give him a snowball's chance in hell, since he figured if he had a chance, he might as well take it. He was not at all surprised when Casey did not accept him after meeting him properly for the first time. Kaylin, on the other hand, did accept him, or at least accepted the fact that it wasn't entirely his choice in the past. So she put him to work so as to allow him the chance to prove to her who he actually is. Also, one thing I haven't touched on, and I realize now that I should have, is why he fell so in step with Vanessa. I kind of touched on it. His sisters, his parents, everybody used and abused him. More specifically, they used his mana. His one sister was quite the thief. Never got caught once his mana came to light. She would just get him to freeze the room, go in, steal everything she could that she wanted, and leave with him keeping the room frozen. There was no way to catch her. And eventually, over time, because this started when he was like 7 or 8, over time, it got to the point where he started to associate that with love, not realizing entirely that it was because they loved his mana, not him. He was a tool, so to speak. Which is why he never recognized it with Vanessa, because that's the life he knew. Alright, I've yammered on about this man long enough. Oh, I will say one last thing. In terms of the pathetic comment from earlier, he looks and seems more pathetic than actually is. By that I mean if somebody were to see him from the outside, they would view him as pathetic. However, he considers himself a sad man, a sorry excuse, but not pathetic. He has a little bit more self-esteem than that. Anyway, as I said, I've yammered on about him long enough. I'm not going to keep going. I think I've covered everything that is actually set. He's admittedly not a super defined or developed character yet, still a work in progress. If you have any questions or comments about him, feel free to ask. I read all the comments, so no worries on that front. Not that I really think that there was a worry about that, and I'm not even sure why I said that, but moving on. I think I'm going to end the video here. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for giving me your time. I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next week. Catch you on the flip side. This is Amber out. See ya.